Ladies and gentlemen, the Buffalo Bills are healthy. Thank you, football gods. Thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of the Don Mafia Report, folks. That is right, I did title this video to really celebrate the fact that although the Buffalo Bills were suffering quite a few injuries during the preseason, during training camp, everybody thought the sky was falling. It sounds like that all the players that we were concerned about should be a full go for week one coming up in just a couple of weeks. So what I wanted to do today is that I'm going to go through some of the players we were all nervous about. And this is all coming from the Sean Mcdermott press conference that just ended up happening a couple of minutes ago. So really a celebratory video. And then I also wanted to touch on something that I was discussing during my live stream earlier this morning. Everybody on earth is really doubting the Buffalo Bills' offensive DNA. Everyone is obsessed with the fact that we don't have perimeter wide receivers. However, I am also going to touch on that this offensive DNA with a good offensive line, good tight end, slot receiver, blah, 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 has already been done in the NFL last year in two different instances. And nobody's acting like that team is going to suffer. So fasten your seatbelts. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on bell notifications so you never miss an upload. And giant shout out to Picasso's Pizza for sponsoring this video. Folks, Picasso's Pizza is truly Buffalo pizza. They have 4 great locations in the Western New York area. If you're ever in there, let them know Dan Mitchell sent you. It would mean the world to me. And if you are not in Buffalo, have no fear. They're mailing pizza to your front doorstep regardless of where you're located in the continental United States. If you use code PARADE, that's going to get you 20% off and enjoy a nice taste from home. Works great for gifts too. Shout out to Picasso's Pizza. Now, in case you ended up missing it, folks, Sean Mcdermott took the podium not too long ago, and everybody was worried about Curtis Samuel, for example, Cole Bishop, Mike Edwards. Well, good news. According to Sean Mcdermott, folks, the only player that will be definitively ruled out for week one is going to be Matt Milano. That is absolutely correct. So everyone that was worried that we weren't going to see Curtis Samuel out there week one, everyone that was worried that we were going to have to roll with a very thin safety room, have to roll with Damar Hamlin opposed to a Mike Edwards, who we ended up acquiring during the offseason, it appears that all of these players are going to be ready. I know nobody's excited about Mitchell Trubisky, but sounds like he is going to as well. Now, obviously, this is coaches speak. We can't always take what Sean Mcdermott says as absolute solidified truth. So we did add some caveats. For example, he said that MVS, Quinton Morris, and Mitch Trubisky have injuries that will be close to extending into the regular season, but for the most part, we're literally just looking at an MVS who several people in Bills Mafia were throwing out there that may not even make the final 53-man roster based off of performances. Then a tight end 3 in Quinton Morris and a Mitchell Trubisky. But none of these injuries are really going to translate into anybody being placed onto the IR. So does that spell trouble for the Shavers of the world, for the Davidsons of the world, our tight end 4? And as far as Mitch Trubisky, everyone that was hoping that Ben DiNucci would end up taking over the backup football role or the backup quarterback role, what the hell's my problem? Backup football. But it sounds like Mitch Trubisky should be good. And you know what, guys? A full bill of health for this team is perhaps one of the most important things we could hope for this season. You've heard me yap on several different occasions that I have all the faith in the world with Joe Brady and his offensive scheme, Bobby Babich, and most significantly, Sean McDermott's scheme. They've proved it year in and year out that they can get the most out of any player that they end up putting out on that field. However, it would be nice that some of the pieces that made us so good last year will actually return and maintain a relatively good bill of health, if you will. What's most important for me is that I need Rasul Douglas to play a full 17 games this year in the regular season. I need Taron Johnson to play a full 17, 18 games. I need Christian Benford, exact same thing. Bernard, oh my God, how much did we miss him during the playoffs last year? Those are the defensive pieces I need to feel solid. Same thing with Gregory Rousseau. Same thing with Ed Oliver. I feel like everybody else could be pretty interchangeable. Even when it comes into the safety room, everyone knows that I feel a certain type of way about even the relevance of having the safeties out in the field in the first place. But man, it just feels so damn good to see that the only person that's not going to be there is Matt Milano, which sucks, but like I said, we're used to not playing with him. Unfortunately, he's becoming this year's Trey White, or this saga of the Buffalo Bills' Trey White. Now, even though we are fully healthy on the offensive side of the ball, it's great to have Curtis Samuel back. I'm still kind of concerned about how he's going to play for the first couple of weeks. A turf toe is typically a nagging injury. It's going to suck. Maybe we won't see the best out of him. But even if he wasn't there, right? Even if he was a full bill of health, this injury wouldn't have happened. People would have continued to doubt this Buffalo Bills offense. And folks, I teased this at the beginning of the video, but I'm going to just go balls deep into this right now. Everyone thinks that the fact that the Buffalo Bills don't have solid perimeter receivers on the outside or true answers thinks that, oh man, they're about to take a massive step back. And what I like to do is I like to take a step and I like to look at the DNA of the offense. What exactly is Joe Brady attempting to build? And when I look at the strengths of this Buffalo Bills team, I see an incredible offensive line. I see a two-headed monster in the running back department. I see perhaps the best tight end room in all of the NFL. And I see a slot receiver that is dangerously going to take the league by storm in 2024 based off of his drop rate, based off of his production not starting until halfway through the season last year. And that's a pretty solid DNA, right? From Bills fans, we think about this and we're just like, yeah, this team is great. But all the doubters, for some reason, are just, hyper-focused on the fact that we don't have anybody at the perimeter of the field. Well, folks, I'll tell you what, this is certainly not unprecedented. This offensive DNA, a list of strengths and how I see it being executed, looks pretty damn familiar to me, wouldn't you say? In fact, it does. In fact, it almost feels like both of the teams in the AFC Championship last year and the team that won the damn Super Bowl has the exact same offensive DNA. For example, I look at the Baltimore Ravens. Everyone's high on them still. Everyone's high on them still. They are typically still in the conversation for going back to the AFC Championship. And last year, let's look at what made them great, okay? They had a great offensive line. They had a great run game. They had a top 3 quarterback. They had a good tight end and a great slot receiver in Zay Flowers. And yes, he did spend a lot of the time in the slot and sometimes on the perimeter. The exact same thing as Khalil Shakir for anybody that's already wanting to start typing out a comment already. If the Baltimore Ravens are getting all of that hype and that's how their team was built last year, how in the hell is anybody going to look you in the eye and say that this Buffalo Bills offensive scheme and personnel is not going to work? It doesn't make sense to me. Moving on to the Kansas City Chiefs. Same exact thing, right? Offensive line, crazy. Solid run game with Isaiah Pacheco. Top 3 quarterback. Number 1, let's be honest with ourselves. Incredible tight end. It's Rashee Rice, slot receiver. That is all they had, folks. That is all they had. It's all about the DNA, how you structure a particular team going into the 2024 season. So I'm getting sick of hearing everybody hyper-focus on the lack of a perimeter threat at the wide receiver position when the most successful offenses in the AFC made it to the furthest you possibly could, and one of them won the whole damn thing. And some of you might come out and say, oh, Dan, it also helped that they had an absolute elite defense. Well, folks, I'm not sure about you, but this Buffalo Bills defense was regularly holding teams to under 21 points on a regular basis last year. This Buffalo Bills defense finished top 5, top 10 in almost every single category, and all of the main contributors from when we started getting hot defensively have returned. Once again, if it wasn't for Bernard going down during the Steelers game, who knows? Maybe we would have beaten the Kansas City Chiefs during the divisional. So you can't count the Buffalo Bills out. And I don't care what the trolls have to say. I sincerely don't, because regardless of what we accomplish, they're always going to try and throw something in our face. But at the end of the day, the vast majority of the trolls are teams that normally have to resort to rooting for somebody else to beat us because they can't do it themselves, or they can't get as far as the Buffalo Bills. But this team right now, folks, has strikingly similar DNA to teams that have been successful. as recent as last year. So anybody that is still hyper-focused on this, oh my God, the Buffalo Bills don't have this perimeter man, with Keon Coleman isn't looking like he's it yet, it's going to take some time, we're going to be completely fine. If it turns out that all we need to rely on is our run game and James Cook, Ray Davis, all we need to rely on is Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, Khalil Shakir, and Josh Allen, mind you, I think we'll be just fine. Even if Keon Coleman doesn't end up working out and he turns out to be a waste of a draft pick, I don't believe that. But worst case scenario, this team has all of the personnel and the scheme to match for us to make it back to the AFC Championship and perhaps the damn Super Bowl. Folks, I cannot wait, all right? There's so much speculation. I've been speculating ever since February. Give me football. We have 2 weeks. Subscribe, turn on bell notifications right damn now, and stay tuned for my preview for preseason week 3 against the Carolina Panthers, and I will be live streaming my game time reaction on Saturday afternoon. I hope to see each and every single one of you there. Thank you so much for tuning in, and as always, I will see you tomorrow.